weird. They're outside the box. Like I said, none of our Dragoncraft decks look the same today. And same thing with the Runecraft. I feel like it's kind of all out of whack for the EU today. You know what I mean? They're all doing their own thing. This is the last day. So, you know, this is time to push your own strategy and try to win. Try to do something outside the box that's unexpected here. We've actually got both players on stream.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, both players on stream here. Again, guys, if you send us your Skype info, we'll give you 1,000 extra vials just for doing it, and we'll get you on broadcast here.
On broadcast. Hollywood.
That's right. Step into your Hollywood shoes. Yeah.
No, we're in Burbank.
All right, starting off with a decent curves. FELERAN here. He's got the 1 into the Gemstone Carapace or Snow White into the Gemstone Carapace. This all works.
Now, FELERAN's Haven list was a little bit standard. I mean, there were a few things. Got a bunch of curates, you know.
Yeah,
had a bunch of...
I'd say this is about as late game of an Aegis deck as you can get. You've got 3 curates in here. You've got, you know, multiple Aegis. He's definitely looking to get to the end game, and I think a big telltale card for that are cards like Pure-Hearted Singer and Red Hot Boots, like cards that are just trying to get you more advantage to get to the late game instead of trying to tempo out like we've seen some of the other Haven decks trying to do.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I didn't see a Heavenly Knight either, which seems strange to me. But I think that didn't exist in the list.
Yeah, he doesn't care about that plan. His plan is to survive until the late game, win with Aegis.
It's so strange because Heavenly Knight is like an upgraded Cleric Lancer, right?
Yeah. I mean, Cleric Lancer was great.
Yeah.
Heavenly Knight is far upgraded on Cleric Lancer, absolutely. That can actually just end the game. Cleric Lancer doesn't really end the game very fast. And we see LUDIBROLO with a lack of ramp, but he's got some Happy Pigs. Oh, I'm sorry, he's playing.
He's playing.
Jesus. The Dragoncraft deck.
It looked really similar.
It's the same cards in it that the Dragoncraft deck has in it. They're all very similar now. He's got the Witch of Sweets too. Is that active? 1, 2, 3. It is. Everything else.
Yeah, he doesn't have any Runecraft cards in hand.
Yeah.
Oinky oinky.
This is always a tough spot. When you're playing against Havencraft and they have the Snow White, you're always expecting them to have the Gemstone Carapace, and it feels bad to put anything into play because it speeds that entire engine up.
Yeah. I would do it. Just do it. No! Why?
Interesting.
I want to see how satisfying. Maybe he's going for the double Gemstone Carapace.
Maybe he's trying to, just do a single big tempo turn. That's pretty good against a neutral deck. They really only have 1-for-1 answers outside of things like Therial.
Yeah. Allied Follow revolves.
A lot of time on his turns here thinking about what the best possible strategy is. Now that he didn't, now that's kind of a good mind game. If you didn't see a Gemstone Carapace, maybe you just don't expect it. Right, he must not have it. Maybe that's a deterrent from actually attacking the Snow White. Usually, you want to pop the Snow White on your turn, you know, if you're defending against it so that they don't have that option. But if you didn't see the Gemstone Carapace, are you really thinking about it anymore?
We'll see. We'll see what LUDIBROLO does.
It is a mind game. He's going to get punished really hard if he doesn't.
Okay.
Oh,
he does it. He does it.
He reads right through it.
That's big. That's big. I kind of want to see the Gemstone Carapace pop.
Yeah, I mean, they'll both probably still get played. They still have a really good turn here. 2 Gemstone Carapaces next turn into an Evolve means they will both pop at the same time still.
Yep, and you can still control the board.
Yep. Definitely not behind by any means.
Oh, wow.
Still a lot of options, though. I mean, again, he's trying to get to the super late game, so he doesn't necessarily have to tempo this turn. I feel like getting a lot of defense early against neutral decks is where you want to be, though.
Yeah. I think they'll be very helpful. It'll allow you to control your swings because those will probably stay on board.
About it, though. Might go with 1-1 with a Black Inscripture. Might put out a Snow White as well. Snow White alongside a Gemstone Carapace is also not bad. Yeah, for as expensive as this deck gets, he's got a lot of cheap options in it. I really like this.
Having to think very carefully about his turn right now, just because there's so many options.
Too many options, honestly.
Yeah.
You could almost play any of the 2 cards in his hand right now. And honestly, there's not really a lot of pickup for LUDIBROLO either. He's got the Impartial Strix, but other than that, I mean, he's got a pretty just, regular hand. Nothing too spicy about it.
The next batch will be tastier. Crystals of snow.
All right, looks like he's going to go with the Snow White option. I like it. And yeah, I mean, this is just a Strix turn, right?
I would think it would be.
I almost want to say pre-Evo it. There's only 1 Tribunal, I believe, if I remember the list correctly, for FELERAN, so I feel like that's a super strong play. It gets around Gemstone Carapace, going crazy against you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if he plays a Gemstone Carapace, he has still a target that he can evolve. There's a lot of removal, right? Red Hot Boots, Blackened Scripture, and
he can still deal with the Impartial Strix, even in play, but it'll wipe out the entire board, and it'll stop the tempo from FELERAN.
And it'll pull out a lot of cards from hand.
Yeah. Either that or just, again, wipe out the entire board. So I feel like it's really good play. He doesn't have to evolve it here. Just be a lot easier to deal with if he does not.
Waiting, deciding. He's trying to figure it out.
There he goes.
And he does go for the evolve.
I feel like he should not smack into the Snow White this time. Force his opponent to do it. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's kind of the same either way.
Yeah, a little bit the same either way.
Yep.
At least the Gemstone Carapace is not popping on their turn. That's the big thing. Because if it pops on their turn, then it can immediately swing.
Right. And that definitely does not feel good. Now, with an Evolution Orb, the Snow White can take care of the Impartial Strix as well. But again, there are a lot of options in hand for FELERAN. Can do quite a bit this turn.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff, and I feel like this is really going to come down to late game. But if FELERAN is leading the charge, and if he can get away with using less and less of his evolution orbs, that Aegis is, I think, the trump card in the late game, right?
Yeah, I feel like the way this is going, it's pretty equalized. FELERAN can kind of deal with anything that LUDIBROLO wants to do for the next, few turns, and he's got the first to 9 play points, right? So he can get that Aegis down and just kind of roll with it. I don't think that the neutral rune deck can really do anything to stop it. I mean, they can put Zeus's in the way, every once in a while, but that's about it. He's not getting any early damage done.
Pure-Hearted Singer comes down. Again, I feel like these turns are very, very important, but the way that they play out, nothing is really being traded immediately in terms of health values, right? So we have a lot of just turns.
So I've got a question for you. What happened to the format where all these neutral decks came out of the woodwork again, and they're just like, in every class, we see it, except Neutral Blood, the one that we saw be most successful at the beginning of the season's nowhere to be found. Now we're here with Neutral Force, we're here with Neutral Rune, we're here with Neutral Dragon.
Yeah, I feel like all these neutral lists are in the fashion of being very late game oriented. I think that's why Neutral Blood isn't there, because Neutral Blood typically was associated with something that went very fast paced. But yeah, I think you're right. A lot of the neutral cards here, I don't know what it is about them. Maybe they just like the idea that on turns 4, 5, 6, you have the potential to play some big bodies. Maybe it has something to do with that.
In my mind, though, like, if I'm looking at LUDIBROLO's hand, right? I'm a competitive player. I'm like, okay, what are my options here? There's not a lot of options. You know what I mean? That's kind of like when I'm playing against an opponent, and I'm not saying their decks are bad or anything like this. This is just me kind of thinking about the neutral package itself. Is it generates some value. Actress Fairy can pump an entire board. Illusionist can get some value in this particular deck, but that's not really the neutral package options. Sokwill can get there with like a Zeus and a Nisrafil and stuff, but it just feels like there's not a whole lot you can do in various different scenarios. It's like I can either put out a big board, or I can have a really big, like, solid one punch with, like, a Sahagwil or an Impartial Strix or something like that. But, gone are the days where you have, like, all these combo options, all these card draw options, a lot of things that you can do against your opponent. It's just very interesting, like we see in the Haven deck, for instance. A lot of different removal options, draw options. March Hare's Tea Time. We've got Aegis for the late game. We've got board wipes with John. Just a lot of different things you can do on your turns. It's just interesting to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Happy Pig there got a very favorable situation. Pulled out the March Hare's Tea Times effect and healed for 3. LUDIBROLO is going to be happy about that, but...
All right, well, that's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the best thing in the world.
Yeah. Gets the card draw.
Yep.
5.
I've actually never seen that interaction before either. That's Illusionist pulling a Pure-Hearted Singer for some extra card draw. Sometimes what you got to do.
Yep. And then spends the last Evolution Orb to trade into it, and is left with an empty board. I actually think that that's super bad. Right.
Yes. Leading into these next couple turns, again, LUDIBROLO doesn't even have a way to tempo out with things like Sahaquill Zeus. Like, that'll get some damage in, but I don't believe it's going to be fast enough without getting any damage in earlier.
Jean is going to heal that turtle back up.
And we're getting ever closer to these Aegis turns here.
Sahaquill Zeus, you're right. I mean, there's 2 of them.
I mean, it's not bad. That's usually what you want to push your mid game with a neutral rune deck, along with Felice with Evolve Orbs and things like that. But there's nothing left to actually utilize that.
I mean, combined with the fact that if you're making that play, you have no Evolution Orbs, you're not trading out the board, he's going to swing for 5 each turn, and he has a Curate.
Yeah. I feel like the longer this game goes, LUDIBROLO is just digging himself into a corner here, and I feel like it's because it's a lack of a lot of options. It's like I have a couple followers I can play every turn, and that's really all I'm doing. Not putting these tricky amulets in play. I'm not, doing these Prince Catacomb turns. I'm just putting some stuff into play.
And I'm not convinced he actually has Ginger in this list, which means that there isn't even a board flood coming up.
Yeah.
Felice?
That is a pretty big Felice, though. Felice that deals 6 damage. That's nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Ooh. That would have been really nice to be hit on the Felice. That would have made the other Jean in hand, Beacon of Salvation, be able to clear board. But, fortunately, that's not the case anymore.
Got both the light and the dark version of Jean here.
Yeah, Dark John's actually very good here, though. Dark John could clear the board if he wants to utilize that.
Yeah. And I think if you're a control deck, why not?
Seems good to me. Can't use the Curate to full effect. Can't use the Jean to full effect here. Can play the Gemstone Carapace or the Snow White, along with the Dark John this turn. And FELERAN, he's getting sunk. He's getting right up in personal with his monitor
he's getting
here.
lower and lower and
That's
lower.
right. He's disappeared.
Yeah. Have you ever? Maybe he has one of those standing desks. So like somebody's just slowly. Oh, it looks like he's trying to get some air there.
Yeah, maybe he's underwater. That's what it is. I had to come up for a breath of air. Yep, looks like he's going with the Dark John option, so that will clear the board.
The next batch will be tastier.
Yep.
And again, it's on LUDIBROLO to try to set some type of pace here to get some damage in. Otherwise, I think he's just going to fold.
Yeah, I think FELERAN is more than happy to just sit around and trade cards a little bit, especially as long as he's not using Evolution Orbs, right? Next turn is it.
It's crazy. When you're on the play as Havencraft and you haven't had to use your Evolution Orbs going to turn 9 for your Aegis, like, you feel so good.
I mean, whatever you play here, the Aegis Evolve is going to be the response.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no chance Aegis is not going to be out next turn, and possibly another one the turn after.
Is it Zeus?
Yep. He's probably going to have to start his damage plan now. Going defensive with it, though.
Yeah. Aegis Evolve is going to be really good. It advances a Gemstone Carapace, removes a Sahaquill.
Oh, wow.
Makes it a 10-10. Yeah.
All of them.
How many Mr. Full Moons do you have?
Right. If the answer is not 3 and they're in your hand right now, this is going to be a really rough game. That's interesting. Like, yesterday we saw a lot of Mr. Full Moons expecting these fields. I feel like Mr. Full Moon, I think DFC Lover had it right. He didn't do so high yesterday, but I don't think that was because of Mr. Full Moons being in his deck, outside things considered. But Mr. Full Moon, I feel like, is perfect in this environment. Everybody's playing these huge follower decks, these neutral decks, these Beauty and the Beast decks, these Aegis decks, like, you name it. Like, there are followers that Mr. Full Moon hits, and it can just slow down anyone's game plan, except for tilting at Windmill's Dragon, but that's why you ban it out.
There it is. The 10-10 and the 3-5. And if a Dark Jean gets pulled, I think he might only have one of them, though.
Definitely wasn't overloaded on that option. Just another board removal option. Yeah, LUDIBROLO, I don't think he's ever going to find the time to do what he needs to do this game.
He can't even play the Zeus, really. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's
flood the board with 2/2s. That's about it. I was thinking about it here. How can I outrace this Aegis? And I feel like he's trying to set up his next few turns here, but I don't see it.
You definitely want to draw. You probably want to play out your Happy Pig. Okay.
Not a bad option.
But when are you going to find time to play that without an Evolution Orb?
Right. Even with the Happy Pig, after that Aegis hits for 10, and I mean, another Aegis is just going to come out too. Like, I don't see any reason to not play the second one. Basically, just cement your lead.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll get to see all 3 Aegises on the field today.
I mean, he could. I mean, he's got time, right? He's going to attack, play one, and then before he attacks with the second 2, he could play the third one just for dominance.
Oh, man.
Now, I could see him playing somewhat defensively here, and by that I mean playing maybe like a White Tiger and a Curate just to, you know, heal back up to full, take no chances. It's not like you really need to play the second. You just...
Yeah. 2 Aegises would mean a lethal setup for the next turn.
Guaranteed.
There would be the ward placed down from Zeus.
Yep. So it is the easiest way. I mean, attacking into Zeus with an Aegis, a 10-10 Aegis, we'll get through it every time, and then your second Aegis will be there to win. I think FELERAN's just doing the math. Is there any possible way for him to do 12 out of hand damage to me in a single turn?
Yep,
he answered that question.
Yep.
Yep.
Alrighty.
You can't do it.
Yeah. At this point, you need like 4 wars.
Yeah. Yeah. You need wards and you need Mr. Full Moons, and you need them fast.
Control Haven takes a win. And we were talking about it, right? Control Haven against Control or Neutral Forest. Right? This is what we were talking about, where Neutral Forest gets played a bit because its Beauty and the Beast just comes out quicker and it can end games. And we were thinking about, well, is there any way for Havencraft to even have a place in the meta?
I feel like it can just go bigger, and like, of course, now alongside of the Neutral Forest decks, we see Neutral Runecraft decks that don't even have that option, right? They don't have that Beauty and the Beast, they don't have that Aegis, they just have followers that, you know, and they do have a game plan that can deal some damage with Felice and things like that, but like, they just don't have anything in the end game that can stand up to followers like this.
Play the last.
No,
no, we could have seen all of the Aegises in the deck.
Yep, again, something I've never seen.
Yeah.
3 Aegis and play at the same time.
Yeah. What does he say? Heaven rebukes you?
Yep, heaven rebukes you.
Why would heaven do that?
Because it doesn't like you, Rainey.
What is the definition of rebuke?
Something to the effect of get out of my face, I want to say.
I'm going to search it up right now.
I would say the slang term. Get out of my face. I rebuke you. Or denied entry.
Express sharp disapproval or criticism of someone because of their behavior or actions.
Oh, it's because of their behavior or actions. Interesting.
Alternatively, an expression of sharp disapproval or criticism. Their example sentence is, she had rebuked him for drinking too much.
That's rough. That's a rough life.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back into this. So we've got Forestcraft up next to FELERAN. Of course, his Forestcraft deck is a Neutral Forest deck. I think he's the first player to actually bring 2 just slow controlling decks. Like, we were kind of talking about this before the cast today as well. A lot of players bring Neutral Forest, but they're not bringing a full lineup of it. Like, they really like their one particular style of neutral deck. We haven't really seen players bring, like, Neutral Forest, Neutral Runecraft, and, like, an Aegis deck. You know what I mean? Like, as, like, just an archetype that they like playing.
Yeah, it is a good point to make.
But FELERAN, he likes it. He likes the slow game plan. He wants his Aegises. He wants his Beauty and the Beasts. He likes to win that way.
And he's one up. He is one up. And LUDIBROLO is going to have to go for one more round the neutral rune deck that he's brought.
That's right.
Which, again, is just so... It's just one card at a time each turn.
One card at a time. That's what these neutral decks do. The difference with the Forestcraft deck is that it does have access to the big Beauty and the Beast, so its follower can basically outpace anything else. But you have to set it up properly. Can't allow your opponent to get too ahead of you on board, otherwise it can be taken down.
All right, some stuff is happening. There's not a lot on the side of FELERAN.
Didn't have a 2-drop.
Ugh.
Looks like he'll probably implement the Kai'Sa as well. Open up his turn 4, so he has 2 plays.
Huh.
So you, Rainey, what would you play? Out of all the neutral decks, what would be your pick if you were going to take one, or would you play more than one?
I actually would probably like to play Neutral Blood, just because it is very fast-paced.
Okay, so you don't want the end game plan, you just want to go in.
Yeah, I would. The only other one is Neutral Forest, just because I play so much Forest. But even then,
would you play White Wolf?
I probably
get the White Wolf and the King Elephant in there in the Neutral Forest package. Yeah. We saw a lot of that yesterday. It was super fun.
Yeah. I probably would do that just because I like the idea of having a big thing, you know, having big damage.
That's right. Just one big follower that can smack for a ton.
I really like the idea of elephants, Ariettes, you know.
Would you go more and play Loki as well?
Yeah, that's something that I would do. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Then you have all the options. It's like you can try to stop me, but if you allow me to live, you're going down. We're going to turn 8, turn 9, turn 10. You're probably gonna lose. I've got some combination of cards that will beat you.
Oh man, overkill. There's so much potential to overkill. All right, FELERAN. He's trying to put together his evolution turn here.
All right, going with the Impartial Strix here. Trying to take back over the board. Again, trying to set up a board to where LUDIBROLO has to trade into him so he can set up a Beauty and the Beast in just a few turns here.
Is that something that can happen? What if you just Hector and face?
Ooh. You just go full tempo here?
Yeah, because you have your Felice, right?
It's definitely in Neutral Rune's wheelhouse to just go all face here. A lot of times they can just tempo you because of Felice specifically.
I do feel like the other Hector might put a stop to that. Oh, well, the Felice might actually just blow through it. I
don't
think
mind
maybe
a Hector
you just
play here.
Hector and pink face for 3, evolve a carrot or something, and then just go for 9 this turn.
There's a lot of damage. That technically would end the game in 2 turns, right?
Yeah.
If there wasn't a Hector on the opposite side of the field. But even so, with Hector, Felice can blow right through it. You evolve it, put your opponent to 1, and then all you got to do is get to Israfel or something else like that, and then you just win the game.
And I mean, why else are you playing Neutral Rune if not for the Felice?
That's true. That's true. Getting it in there. Elf Twins Assault freshly drawn for FELERAN. Gives him another option here to try to clear out the board if he wants to go that route. Could go with the Hector here. I kind of like Hector here because I think it sets up for Beauty and the Beast a little bit better.
Yeah, and FELERAN needs to find some kind of footing.
I mean, he could go with a play like Happy Pig Evolve this turn as well, but I don't feel like that puts enough pressure on the board for LUDIBROLO to care about.
Yeah. I think you throw the Hector down.
Yep, I like Hector here. Hector, even evolve it. You've got the second Evolve Orb to work with.
And Hector defending Beauty and the Beast is always super great.
Yep. I mean, honestly, it's just a big stat stick, right? It's like you have to trade into this so that you can present another board. And sometimes you can't, and if you have to evolve into it, and that's like the biggest play you have, then it opens up my Beauty and the Beast. And he's got to do something, because either that or he's going to play super defensively, FELERAN is. He's going to Elf Twin Assault into Sahaquil and just try to get to the super late game, which I think is not in his favor when he's already at 10. Because, of course, we know the big plan for Neutral Rune is to get Zeus's in play, and they've got Illusionist to pair it up with. They've got Sahaquils to pair it up with. It gets rough.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 neutral cards.
Yep, he's got enough. I don't see why. Again, I don't see why not. 5 damage to the face here. Clear out that Hector. It makes Beauty and the Beast not a great play.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is really pushing the game to its close real quick.
No evolve here. Interesting.
Really.
That's okay. I mean, honestly, he's got the Hector in hand to push to 6. He wants to probably save that Evolution Orb just in case he needs it. I mean, he has literally no options in his hand. So,
I mean, I feel like in this scenario, you're completely fine just running the Beauty and the Beast into the 3 damage Felice, right? And Hector won't be able to ping it. You don't have a Sahak Will.
Yeah. I mean, this is a really good Beauty and the Beast turn. I mean, this is kind of what you set up for, right? This is why you play the Hector. I feel like Beauty and the Beast is the biggest, I mean, it's the biggest catch-up option anyway. You know what I mean? If they want to do some kind of a Saha Zeus thing next turn, that's fine. You're okay with that because it's not going to end you. Wow.
Okay.
I feel like you play super defensive here and you don't give yourself a chance to catch back up. You're just going to get knocked over turn after turn.
Yeah, as the play points get larger, man. As the play points get larger, LUDIBROLO is going to have better answers to the Beauty, the Beast.
I feel like sniping that Happy Pig before Evolution Orbs is pretty important here. Lock down a little bit of that healing.
Yeah. He's just thinking. There's only a few cards he can play in this scenario. I do think it hurts not to have the Sahak Wheel here. But I feel like this game would have just played out so much more different if he had just taken the aggressive line.
Yeah, probably would have ended.
He had the board state to set up for it.
He had the Hector for extra face damage. But in any case, I don't think LUDIBROLO's lost anything by not being aggressive here. I mean, he's still super ahead. We're getting into an endgame where, I mean, I feel like six defense in this matchup is not a lot when everything hits so hard.
Yeah. One little gap turn. That's the end of it.
And if last turn wasn't a strong move for the Beauty and the Beast, this definitely is. I mean, it feels scary because, yes, a single Zeus now will end you with a Sahak Will play. But it didn't happen last turn, so I wouldn't be as afraid of it.
Yeah.
You can just Saha Israfil here as well. Nothing wrong with that.
That's true. It clears the board and gives you 4 damage.
I'm just scared for FELERAN. If he does not install this Beauty and the Beast fast enough, he's just going to lose. Just generally over time. I mean, he needs to put some kind of tempo on his side of the board to try to get some damage to LUDIBROLO.
So it's probably going to be Sahak Will Israfil.
Interesting.
So he can do 4, maybe up to 6 if he wants. Or rather 8 plus the Israfil, right? So 6 or 8. Which is great. That's a good turn.
Yeah, and now it's all just on LUDIBROLO's draw. I mean, he's got cards that can win him the game right now. Honestly, he can just wait. He can play Felice and attack. He can wait until he has Israfil play points and then just evolve that, get some extra damage in. I mean, he doesn't have the Zeus at the ready at the moment. Doesn't have a Sokol either. So getting these last 6 in might be a little hard, but this is exactly what I was talking about. Now that Happy Pig has had a chance to evolve, that 3 extra defense could be killer here.
Yeah, that could be what makes a difference. And FELERAN is now the one with a board state. No Evolution Orb on his side. But we're 1 turn off Israfil, and you still haven't gotten your Sahak Will.
Yep. And now it still begs the question, like, you still probably want a Felice to get this board back, but now you have to deal with this Happy Pig that's going to gain 3.
Yeah. There's a Felice.
Or you just try to prevent it from dying at all, which is super awesome. That's definitely a play, but it looks like he's not going that route.
Yeah. It's going to be tough to get away with that. Especially because you don't know what... I'm not sure, but FELERAN could also be playing some kind of Sahak Will Zeus thing. There it is. The 3 health heal. And now the health levels are looking a lot closer than they were. But I also think there's like little opportunity to play Beauty and the Beast now.
Yeah, I think this turn is now definitely a Sahak Will Israfil turn. You get more damage in. You get to push the tempo just another turn. And LUDIBROLO ran out of Evolution Orbs. You know, he's got nothing left for the Israfil.
Yeah.
He did it a little later with his Felice. I feel like the evolve on the first one would have been a lot better on the second one because it was a lot earlier in the game. Would have set the pace for him a little bit better.
Yeah, and now there's a situation where it's a little ambiguous, right? Yep, this is probably Sakura Listerfield then.
Yep.
Here it comes.
There's no other option that clears the board and keeps your tempo going. And then in 2 turns, he's got the Jungle Warden. So maybe not playing the Snow, or I'm sorry, the Beauty and the Beast was fine because LUDIBROLO did not speed up the tempo of this game. He kind of just sat back on his cards and, you know, thought they were going to be good enough over time.
Yeah, this is interesting. You need to respond to this probably with the ward. So I think your Jungle Warden is this turn.
Yeah, you could tempt Fate and play your own Israfil. That Israfil is a really strong play, though. I mean, even without an Evolution Orb, it still sets LUDIBROLO up to be the proactive player.
So he can do 8, 10, 13, 9. No, if he plays Israfil, he dies. Because Hector pings for 3 and Israfil swings for 10.
Yeah, if you do count the Hector. In play, though, you know, with given information, you could play that Israfil and try to sneak by.
But that's also not counting if there's a Zeus there.
That's true. That's true.
There's a Zeus in the pocket, so that's 2 cards that can provide that lethal.
Well, if there's a Zeus in hand, you lose the game either way, I believe, even with the Jungle Warden.
Yeah, you need some way to remove the Israfil. So I guess what that means is basically you need to draw, and then Jungle Warden.
And pray.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of praying going on in the last couple days. It's kind of like you just have to kind of make this play and pray. It looks like he's going with the Israfil option.
No. And that'll close things out. LUDIBROLO has lethal.
Honestly, like when you look at the entire context of this, I think taking this gamble is probably the safest bet because drawing a card, you don't really know what you're going to get. The Jungle Warden doesn't really do anything, right? Your entire board's still going to get broken up. But of course, LUDIBROLO has that Hector. Finishes that game off. So now we're going to see Mid-Shadow versus neutral Forestcraft, and we've seen Mid-Shadow do really well this weekend against all of these neutral decks.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it comes down to the neutral decks kind of playing followers that Belinus can eat up, you know, and giving Shadow time to just Andrew Alphas.
Yeah, the value you get off the Shadowcraft creatures in these matchups is you can't discount it. I mean, Belinus coming back with Skull Rings, Prince Catacomb boards, like you see how these neutral decks play out. They play like a follower or 2 followers maybe, but they don't do anything crazy like value-wise in play, whereas Shadowcraft, that's all it's doing all game.
Yeah. Okay, he's got Mordecai, card that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah. I'm glad we haven't seen that card in a while. Because when you see that card, he doesn't go away. He's very annoying. Yeah.
That guy that you just want to talk about one thing. He ends up just staying the whole day.
That's right. So interesting. Does decide to get rid of the Necro Assassin for perfect on-curve plays, but finds a Tentative Knight. Again, back in the Shadowcraft decks. I really like that card. I still think it's really good. I mean, you need bigger followers in this format in order to deal with some of the followers that your opponents are playing. Impartial Strixes, you know, Hectors, things like that in the mid-game. You need ways to get over them. I think a Tentative Knight is perfect in this format.
And you have the Demon Eater. So that gives you the flexibility of either popping the Lurching Corpse or popping the Attendant Knight, which is very, very nice.
I really like Lurching Corpse too, like especially against these decks. It's so hard to play against. Most of the neutral decks, like say this was an uncontested board and LUDIBROLO just passed, like that Lyra will probably just run into the Lurching Corpse so it couldn't take out anything bigger. It's such a really nice, it's such a nice tool in this matchup, and it still might be the play.
Yeah. The Lyriel is put in a very awkward position.
That's right. He might go for a value play and trade with one of the Skellies.
That's
nothing
interesting.
wrong with that.
I think, in many ways, I feel like Shadowcraft, in situations like this, can execute an aggro plan very, very well. And that's almost where it wants to be, right? It wants to just be swinging at you and constantly having these token followers on board.
Well, the big thing that it does need to do still, and I feel like it and Swordcraft kind of fall in like the same lump, and it's why I think a lot of their power level has waned, is because they have to get their opponent to 10 before the end game.
Yeah.
It's getting increasingly harder to do that. to get your opponent to that 10 when you're just playing all this value stuff. When you're not actually trying to play an aggressive line, you're just trying to like, I want to fill up the board, I want to draw some cards, I want to do XYZ thing. Dealing that 10 damage is a lot harder than it used to be.
Yeah, he goes for the value play.
And he can just fill up the board here. I don't see any reason why not to play the Attentive Knight and the Goblin and just smash face.
Yeah, I think so too. You just keep loading it up. Because as you keep filling up the board, your opponent is going to constantly want to be clearing, want to be clearing. And when you have the Attendant Knight and the Lurching Corpse set up, you have this big swing.
Yeah. What do? Do they trade with your board and give you advantage, or do they not trade with your board?
Eventually, you even get to the point where you just evolve the Lurching Corpse, right?
Yep.
And then it's like, well, now I feel like I have to run into it because it is doing 3 every turn. And you talked about, previously how, like, an Evolution Orb, if you get the follower to swing for 2 turns, you probably bought back that Evolution Orb's value.
It's super profit. Every time you can attack with an Evolved Follower more than one time, it is high profit. And Lurching Corpse and Attentive Knight are perfect targets for that. Very hard to deal with. Forces your opponent to deal with it, which they don't want to, and you get value anyway.
Yeah. So now just a bunch of pure-hearted singers, and the late game for FELERAN, I mean, if we look at his hand, he's got a bunch of stuff, right? He's even got Grimner. I think he's got flexible wards. He's got 3 different types, the Grimner, the Hector, the Aaron. He's got the Sahak Wheel. He's got Board Wipe from Bahamut. He's got Healing. He has a lot of options. He just needs to make it there. Meanwhile, LUDIBROLO, the only card draw he has is the Demon Eater. He needs to kind of hit card draw from card draw and just keep going.
But again, he's got the early pace of this game on lock, which I really like. FELERAN's making a really hard decision on what he wants to do here. Does he want to trade board? Is this an Evolve to go face? Wow.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Didn't want to attack into a Lurching Corpse or get that destroyed. Possibly not even a Goblin, so that the Skull Ring did not bring back a higher value target than a 1/1.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like LUDIBROLO actually has a big opportunity here. And I think the decision he makes here is actually going to be pretty important. Doesn't have the shadows to Soul Squasher.
Yep. I think you lead with the Demon Eater on the 1/1, the freshly summoned 1/1. Draw your cards. And then ultimately evolve either a Tentative Knight or Lurching Corpse and just continue the face race. If my opponent wants to face race me with pure-hearted singers, I'm more than fine with it.
Yeah.
When they're playing a slower neutral deck.
Yeah. And again, now that he's drawn that Necro Assassin, right, he still has a fantastic combo with his Lurching Corpse.
And that might be actually one of the reasons to evolve the Tentative Knight, so it makes Lurching Corpse even more unassuming.
Yeah. Interesting. This is the second time LUDIBROLO has gone for the safer line, or rather the less immediately aggressive line. That's probably the better way to put that.
Honestly, I don't understand that evolve though. I mean, I get the fact that it takes away the value play.
Opts to use the Lurching Corpse. He cashes in now.
Wow. Yeah, definitely cashes in everything this turn.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Gets an Ector and another Necro Assassin off the back of that. And this is powerful, right? I mean, you don't have Sahakul Israfil yet. This turn, you have to deal with a board. The next turn, the Skeleton Prince comes down. You still don't have Sahakul Israfil. And then the Ector comes down, and that could be the swing that ends it.
It's true. I mean, he does have 2 Necro Assassins to get value out of board right now. But essentially, he cashed in all of his value on a singular turn. That's definitely not a bad idea if you think you can race your opponent that fast. I like it. I like this plan of attack. This is definitely a different way to do it, but it's pretty good.
LUDIBROLO just needs to win 1 game to move on to the winners finals, where he will be facing off against Classic Man 92.
And yeah, he's putting the rub to FELERAN here. FELERAN doesn't have a lot of good options anymore. I mean, he can Hector here. That's probably the best thing he can do.
On the warfield, a shining helmet.
Oh boy.
It won't be long now.
Fate can't withstand me.
And then Soul Squasher can take this out if he wants to use that option, if he wants to keep pushing the tempo. Definitely doesn't need to, though.
I do think there's a lot of value in trying to use your Skeleton Prince here.
Skeleton Prince this turn is also good. You can Skeleton Prince, trade away 2 of these followers, and still attack for 1, fill up the board again.
Yep. That's the direction that I would head. And I like trading away the 2 followers because that's 2 shadows as opposed to potentially just 1. Okay.
So this makes me feel like Soul Squasher is coming. Yep.
Nice. That means you get 3 here. You have a filled board, but you also don't have the last word effects that refills.
That's okay, though. I like this. The reason I like this is because, again, think about what the neutral deck can do on turn 6, right? Their best play is another Hector. You know what I mean? And if they don't have the second Hector, what are they really doing against you here?
Yeah. The one thing about this is you expend your shadows, and I feel like the Hector potentially, like that is potentially game closing. If you have the Hector with the shadows, are able to trade out with a zombie and then swing everything face, as opposed to having to use cards that would normally swing face to trade out.
It's true, but when you're in a situation like this, I mean, they play 1 follower, evolve into your board, just so they can do something. Then you can play the Hector and smash for lethal. And, I mean, honestly, the best way to play against this is to not play anything, right? Because you don't have the removal for the entire board. I think you just pass here. You take,
you
take your wallop.
Played.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing we saw last time, right? If you cannot do anything significant, and the only thing you can do is destroy 1 follower, you just kind of lose.
Yeah. He passes it up, so I think this is just throw the Pure-Hearted Singer in, and then you Hector, evolve the Hector, and then that means you get 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 8.
13.
13.
Yep. Which is plenty of damage.
Yeah.
And you have a full board.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're on the play, and you have Aisha coming.
Yeah. Everything is going in your favor here. Absolutely. I feel like his only other consideration is to possibly play the Necro Assassin after popping the Pure-Hearted Singer, and then just pushing what he can, and then saving the Hector for a lethal push, but I don't think he needs to do that. I don't think he needs to play that cautiously this game.
Double Skeleton Prince. Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, honestly, he can even Lurching Corpse evolve it, and that would save all of his active followers for attacking as opposed to sacking one of them.
Goes with Necro Assassin, so this is going to be 2, 3, 4.
Yep, nothing wrong with this. Just keep the board full.
Yeah.
Keep Hector lethal
I
as
really
possible.
like this because this means the Sahakul Israfil becomes like very sketchy, right? If the Lurching Corpse hits the Israfil, that's an option that you lose.
It always hits the Israfil. Every time. Every time.
Do you have battle scars?
In my experience, yeah. Yep. I don't really play I don't really play mid shadow anymore, so I definitely do the Israfil Sahakul package against them quite a bit, and yeah, the Israfil it goes away.
Here it comes.
It goes away.
Oh boy.
So sorrowful.
Okay.
He's got to do it.
Okay.
Every time.
You were.
Every time.
No.
Every time, because that's just the way the world works, Rainy. Israfil always goes bye-bye.
Sorry. You gonna learn today.
But yeah, now it's just a game plan of just playing out Skeleton Princes and value cards and neutral deck not really having a lot of ways to combat this. I mean, the Aisha is going to come out. The 10 damage will be done.
This ends here.
Last Evolution Orb.
Destroy our foes, sacred ones.
Now, it's interesting because if the Israfil would have lived, then this play wouldn't have been able to happen.
Yeah.
And also, there will be another Saha Israfil combo next turn, but there isn't that. So a little bit different in the way these turns could have played out, depending on which follower died there.
Needs to probably evolve here. I feel like you don't ever really want to take just 6 for no reason.
Yeah. But again, does he? Does he care? Does he even care?
On your next turn, I mean, yeah, what could he do? FELERAN doesn't have a lot in his hand to swing back. There's no more Hectors, which honestly, a Hector Grimmer would be a very strong response to that.
I like this play, preserving all of the last word effects in play. I feel like this does mean that unless Hector is a lethal push, he's not going to play it anymore. He's just going to save it for that Aisha.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get the Hector. Hector's, I mean, still the best play you can make, right? Israfil's gone. You want to save your Jungle Warden.
You can do a Hector carrot thing.
Yeah, it's definitely the safest play, right? Putting up the ward here. Because the other play here, I guess you could Saha into something, like a Bahamut, or even the Hector, and clear out one thing, but that doesn't really do a lot for you.
Yeah. I think probably the Hector carrot. I would probably save the Grimner. Grimner against Shadow is really good. On its enhance.
I mean, you have to save wards here. This is the real problem. You have to save wards once you get to the 10 play point area because of Aisha. But if they're your only plays, like going into those turns anyway, I mean, you're kind of in a rock, between a rock and a hard place here.
Currently 9 damage on board when the Ector on LUDIBROLO's turn comes down, the Demon Lord Ector. If you do not deal with these falls or if you do not ward.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even feel like that's the option. I don't think he's going to play Ectar here. Using the shadows is not what he wants to do unless he has to.
Yeah.
Although the Hector might prompt it, specifically, just because he can't push damage with that in the way.
Yeah, he could probably use Necro Assassin some way.
I mean, that's not guaranteed, unfortunately. He could Necro Assassin the 1/1, try to kill the Hector. If he does that, then he doesn't need to play the Ectar, obviously. He wouldn't be able to anyway, because then next turn he would get the 2 damage in this turn, and then the Aisha would follow up next turn. But he does have to worry about the fact that FELERAN does play a little bit more wards than some of the neutral forest craft decks that we've seen. He does have the Jungle Wardens. He does have the Hectors. He's got Grimnir.
We saw that as a big problem in North America, right? A lot of the neutral forests just petered out because they did not have the defensive options they needed against tilting, against Shadow specifically.
Play more wards, folks. Wards are good.
You're breathing too loud.
Okay. Oh my god, every time.
Gets the beautiful roll.
Every time. And now that you deal the 2.
Yeah, this is just kind of like clockwork now for LUDIBROLO.
There's the Andrew Alphas. He found it.
This game didn't need it. He was rolling pretty nicely without card draw this entire game, which always feels good.
Yeah. Had a bunch of good Demon Eaters. So I think he played all 3 of his Demon Eaters this game. Which was enough.
I lose.
Okay. Well, now you need ward and healing.
Yep. You have to play a ward every turn.
Yep. And clearing the board.
Yeah. This is rough. Now, of course, if he does get to 10 play points, Jungle Warden is pretty good to play in a single turn. But of course, LUDIBROLO does have a lot of options in hand. He's got the Ectar, he's got the Aisha, he's got the Skeleton Prince to fill up the board again if he needs to.
I think he needs to play double wards to live here. Even if he just plays a Grimner, that's not enough. Even if he just plays a Jungle Warden, that's not enough. Sahaka Will is not enough.
That's true. It's actually true, and you can't play Sahakwill with a ward. So yeah, I think you're right. I think Grimnir plus Jungle Warden is a must play. And then after that, I mean, as soon as that gets broken down, there's not really much left for FELERAN to defend himself with.
Yeah, I think this might be the end of the road for FELERAN. And mid-Shadow proves itself to be strong enough to close out the game before FELERAN can make it to the 10 play point mark. Just barely.
Yeah.
Just short. And Neutral Forest has been, like, really strange. Like, I don't feel like we've really seen a good opportunity to play Beauty and the Beast. And even when the opportunity was potentially there, FELERAN chose not to play it.
Right. Looks like he's just like, you know what, I lose to an Aisha anyway, so if he's got it, he's got it. I need to try to get back on this board. And of course, LUDIBROLO does have it.
Yeah. Happily dropping Aisha.
Deliver the final blow.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I received this gladly.
Accept my offering of Aisha. So I want to talk about the format changes, okay? So, or at least the metagame changes. So we went from a metagame where Shadowcraft was the strongest deck. And then Dragoncraft came along, Burn Runecraft came along, Daria came along. All these decks that were really good around Shadowcraft came along. the metagame shifted into heavy like mid-range and aggro decks. And then all of a sudden...